So I was homeschooled in high school, and I would say I was always a very curious person, super curious. I asked too many questions until I realized there wasn't a such thing as too many questions, and very outgoing. And I always felt like I wanted to push. I wanted to be older than I was. I wanted to hang with the older kids, with the people who were already years above me, and learn from them. And I was always very ambitious. When I was in high school, so like I said, I was always pushing. I was very ambitious. I was always looking for something, and I wasn't really sure what it was. And I always thought that I would end up going to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad, he's a serial entrepreneur, so the world of entrepreneurship, of business, was always in my life. And I was introduced to that at a super young age because I would just be really interested in helping him write this or design that, or I would ask as a young child to go to meetings with him just because, like, I don't know, it's weird for a young child, but that always interested me. But yeah, as I came closer to graduation, I thought I wanted to take a really safe path, go to college, do physical therapy, and I was never super sold on college, and I thought I would never go to college for a career in business, even though it interested me. I would never go for a degree in business or marketing or anything like that, because I thought, why would I do that when I could learn almost everything from the people? Like, my dad was a big mentor in my life. I had people in my life like Silas, who also were, you know, these phenomenal men in their career, phenomenal women in their career as well in my life, and they never went to college. So I knew that if I was going to college, it was going to be a very specific college-needed field. But anyways, so I wanted to do physical therapy, and that was going to be a 4-year degree. The year I was graduating, that was changed to a doctorate degree, but once you graduate, you do not get the title of doctor. So I thought, I am putting in so many years of work towards a degree, and I don't even get the title attached with it. And I thought, no, there's no way I'm doing this. So I graduated a little bit early and took that time to kind of decide if I was actually going to pursue college. And ultimately I didn't, and I was very happy about that. During this time, I was searching for an alternative to college, because I knew if I don't go to college, I am going to pursue a creative career somewhere in business, in the marketing realm, because that had interested me for a very long time. I had been designing for quite a while. I was actually freelance web designing at that time, just because I could. And I never, for some reason, actually thought to make a career out of that, now that I think about it, even though I was doing it and I was making money. But I met up with a friend who was in town, Silas, over Christmas time, and I had already graduated at that point, and I was just kind of biding my time then until the fall. And we were driving the car together, and I had asked him to explain to me this weird program that he went through, and now he's living in New York City and doing cool stuff. I was like, what was this like weird thingy again? And he then told me about Praxis, had me absolutely hooked within like 4 words, and subsequently introduced me to Cameron and Mitchell and to a lot of really big names in the Praxis community. And they had me 100% sold after one conversation, and I immediately applied. And that was honestly, I think, like a week or 2 after Christmas already. So it was really quick for me. First off, I was very put off by the fact that college has there's no guarantees, right? You're going into your field of study, and you're just hoping to go in to a hospital or a clinic afterwards and be like, look, I can do physical therapy, here's my piece of paper. And at that point, I had a lot of friends that were quite a bit older than me, and most of them did go to college. And I remember one friend specifically, she was just so lost. She had no mentorship, no guidance. She started to go for a doctorate degree, and she wanted to become a doctor, and changed her mind and changed it again and again. And I just felt like she had no support, no mentorship behind her. And that was something that really bothered me. And when I went on the Praxis website, that was something that stood out to me so clearly. The job guarantee, it was, I think back when I looked at it, it was like a job guarantee of making $45,000 or more after graduation. And then like I kept on reading, and it was talking about job support and mentorship and all of this stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, how are they promising this when college isn't able to promise this? And that's what ultimately had me sold, is they were making promises, and I thought they were too big to be true promises, but they really weren't. And that's what college is getting so wrong, is that they are not doing any of this because they aren't able to. Something that stuck with me my whole life is when I was in private school, like, my teachers were actively really annoyed with me with the fact that I asked questions. And I have always been a very inquisitive person. I didn't just want to be told this is the way it is. I want to know why it is the way it is, so I can then explain it to people. And that was always really, questions were always a very, very big part of my whole life. And I was put down so often in school for that. And I realized then, being homeschooled, that questions are really good. Questions result in answers, and when you are able to have answers to these questions, you're able to get outside the box. You're not just cookie cutter then. You're able to teach and to learn so much more than we're encouraged to learn in at least the school, the regular public school, brick and mortar school sector. And that's what I think Praxis did, is they really, really encouraged me to think outside the box. I remember once hopping on a social call with a bunch of other Praxians, and I asked them just like a really, I can't remember what the question was, but it was kind of just like a very school set ingrained question, possibly about like the trajectory of Praxis, like what am I supposed to do? And they were like, do whatever you want. They really didn't understand the question. And that was like the first time where I was just like so motivated and encouraged. They're like, you don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want. Write your own rules. Make of Praxis what you want to make of Praxis. And like, that was so cool, because I could really make and get out of the curriculum what I needed to get out of it. And if it was a part of the curriculum that perhaps didn't resonate with me so much, I was able to talk to the mentors and really change that up, and it was phenomenal. I worked in an operations role for a property management firm, and I did it a little bit differently because Praxis didn't partner me with this. I was particularly very interested in property investments, property management, that line of work, and they supported me when I made the connection in my hometown with this property management firm. So that's kind of what I meant by they let me really make and get out of the curriculum what I wanted. Is I found them and they were like, 100%, we will support you in this, let's do this together. When I joined Praxis, I was coming off of doing some random freelance web design projects, which honestly, I didn't even know the word freelance when I first started Praxis. I was making websites for people and getting money from it, and that's what I thought. That's how I explained it to people. But I was doing freelance web design, and I had done graphic design for a while, and I thought I wanted to be somewhere in kind of the marketing industry. And then starting Praxis, I realized that I really like operations, and I loved everything kind of involved, how it's not the same every single day. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe an operations role would suit me better. And I had also I still do have a very big interest in just kind of like the whole investments and property investments sector. So when I found this role, in my hometown, I thought, well, this is perfect. I'll get to know what it is to be in an operations role. And I really liked it. And I kind of put everything into operations, but I still missed that design aspect of my life that had been a part of it for so long. So during that time, I was kind of getting restless in the property management company because there wasn't any room for growth, at least not at the time when I was there. And I was getting requests from friends of friends to take care of a logo that they wanted or something like that. Just like really random requests, all pretty much at the same time for some graphic design needs. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'll take this on. I'll get a little bit of, side income. And eventually I was talking about that enough and writing about it enough and putting myself out there enough that I was actually making more doing that than I was at the property management company. So I quit my job and I thought, okay, well, let's try this freelance thing for a while. And I was also applying to jobs doing this freelance thing. So it wasn't kind of like a cold turkey quit and freelance. I did want a different job while I was doing that, but I thought this is the perfect bridge over. And I just kept getting busier doing my freelance design, and that slowly morphed into a full-time job. And I slowly from there shifted into more of a writing position for a lot of my clients, because design oftentimes is a one-time project, but they kept needing me to do a little bit more for them writing wise, and that had always been a very deep interest of mine as well. And so I gobbled up as much information as I could about what it means to be a good copywriter. And I had been writing for a long time, probably longer than designing, but I didn't realize that you could fully make a career out of it until I was in Praxis, actually. And so I did a lot of self-education on writing, and now today I'm a full-time long-form copy and ghostwriter. Yes, so it was a lot of moving parts getting me there, and just hearing my story out loud, I think, wow, like I had no idea what I was doing along the way, but I really like what I'm doing today. Like my highest achievement so far is, I feel like just being comfortable. I think that's so hard for a freelancer to say, like, because with freelance, it's like, it's feast or famine all the time. And it's like, when you can get to a point where you are comfortable, you are just solid, you're there, you're in good contracts, you are, for the foreseeable future, you're really stable. I would say that is a point I didn't think I'd get to anytime soon, but that is the high I'm riding right now, and that's probably my biggest achievement, the fact that I can sit here and I can say, yes, I'm freelance. I have been freelance for several years now, and I am actually thriving in this industry. I'm thriving working for myself, and the coolest part is freelance, even if you're really niche down, it's never the same day to day. It is kind of that operations role that I wanted, where it's something different every day, because I'm not just a copywriter. I have to keep my books, and I have to take care of all my contracts, and I wear so many different hats throughout the day that I realized, I think, or I didn't even realize along the way, but I was achieving so many of the goals and so many of the interests that I had. I was just kind of evolving, growing into all of this stuff, all this experience that I kind of picked up along the way has led me to this point, and it's so cool. Biggest thing that Praxis gave me, aside from the curriculum, aside from everything, was confidence. Because I think going into the world, knowing you're doing something out of the ordinary, knowing that all my friends were going to college but I'm choosing not to, that was really, really intimidating. And I think the Praxis community gave me unbelievable amount of confidence. And I mean, I can remember joining as a 17-year-old, and I was so scared. And the first day in the community, I was getting tons of messages from people who I didn't even know how inspiring they were. And they were welcoming me and telling me that, anything I need, if I want to hop on a call, if I want to chit chat and kind of like get to know everybody, if I want introductions, they were all there for me. And I think that without that confidence, I would not be where I am. And also one of the biggest things that I should mention, most of my really long-standing solid clients were from referrals through the Praxis program. And that is absolutely massive. I don't think I would be at all, I wouldn't be a fraction as connected to the people I'm connected to without Praxis. And that is all day long the best thing about Praxis. So I wouldn't replace that for anything. Don't do what everyone else is doing just for the sake of doing it. Pursue where you think is going to make you the happiest, the most fulfilled 5-10 years down the road. Because if you're following your friend to college because you think they have it all sorted out, they really, really don't. They're basically just as lost as you are. And I mean, I would just really push them to figure out the path that's best for them and not the path that everyone else thinks they should be on, because gut feelings are big. And I think if you don't follow your gut, I don't know. I think I'd be in a lot of problems if I wouldn't have followed my gut. But also, I would say find mentors. Like, I think that they need to figure out what interests them and find people who have done it and talk to them. There was a point in my life where I was really interested in social work. And I talked to a woman in my life who was a social worker for a long time. And I told her I was interested, and she goes, no. She's like, no, don't do it. She's like, I actually don't like social work at all. She goes, I know you, I've known you for a long time, you're not gonna like it. And I think that if you can talk to people, I mean, don't just take that word for, absolute, but talk to as many people as you can, make as many connections, and that would be my best advice.